Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India NewsHour, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Modi addresses the International Air Transport Association, lauds India's success in connecting smaller towns with airports and making air travel affordable. Prime Minister Modi hosts Paraguay's president for talks in New Delhi. The South American leader is on a 3-day visit to India. Russia and Ukraine hold a second round of talks in Turkiye, a day after Kyiv carries out an audacious attack on Moscow's nuclear-capable long-range bombers in Siberia and elsewhere. Pro-Trump nationalist wins Poland's presidential election. The 42-year-old historian and former boxer's victory deals a blow to the country's pro-EU government. And the UK unveils plans to expand its nuclear-powered attack submarine fleet in order to prepare to fight a modern war and counter the threat from Russia. Paraguay's President Santiago Peña began a 3-day visit to India on Monday. It's the first visit to India by a head of state of the South American country since 2012. The next report tells you more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosted Paraguay's President Santiago Peña for talks in New Delhi on Monday. The delegation-level talks took place at Hyderabad House. Prime Minister Modi said that President Peña's visit, which will also take him to Mumbai, is historic and a strong reflection of the South American country's commitment to strengthening mutual ties.
आपकी यात्रा बहुत ही ऐतिहासिक है। दूसरी बार पैराग्वे के किसी राष्ट्रपति की भारत यात्रा हो रही है। एक्सेलेंसी, मुझे खुशी है कि आपके साथ सीनियर मंत्री, अच्छा एक बड़ा ताकतवर डेलीगेशन आपके साथ आया है। आप केवल दिल्ली नहीं बल्कि मुंबई भी जा रहे हैं। इससे आपसी संबंधों को प्रगाढ़ करने की आपकी प्रतिबद्धता बिल्कुल स्पष्ट है। मेरा विश्वास है कि आपसी सहयोग से हम साझी समृद्धि का मार्ग प्रशस्त करेंगे। एक्सेलेंसी, हमारे पास आर्थिक सहयोग सहित डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी, क्रिटिकल मिनरल्स, ऊर्जा, कृषि, स्वास्थ्य, डिफेंस, रेलवे तथा स्पेस जैसे क्षेत्रों में सहयोग के नए अवसर हैं।
The PM appreciated the Paraguayan leader's condemnation of the Pahalgam terror attack.
Prime Minister Modi expressed his deep appreciation to Paraguay for its strong condemnation of the terrorist attack in Pahalgam, as well as for the sincere condolences and solidarity expressed with the people and the government of India. Both leaders unequivocally condemned terrorism and violent extremism in all its forms and manifestations.
Earlier in the day, President Peña received a ceremonial welcome and guard of honor. The visiting leader paid homage to Mahatma Gandhi at his memorial at Rajghat. India and Paraguay established diplomatic relations on the 13th of September 1961. They have since shared warm and cooperative ties. Over the years, both the nations have expanded their collaboration in key sectors. The cooperation extends to trade, agriculture, health, pharmaceuticals, and information technology. President Peña is accompanied by a high-level delegation comprising ministers, senior officials, and business representatives. Bureau Report, DD India.
According to the Ministry of External Affairs, India and Paraguay discussed the full spectrum of bilateral ties, including trade and investment, health and pharmaceuticals, defense and security, besides people-to-people ties.
The two leaders held a comprehensive discussion on the entire spectrum of bilateral relations, including trade and investment, health and pharmaceuticals, defense and security, infrastructure, mining and mineral resources, agriculture and food security, green energy, ICT, digitalization, innovation, disaster management, science and technology, education, and people-to-people links.
New Delhi says that both sides share a strong convergence on matters of global importance. India has sought Paraguay's support for a non-permanent seat on the United Nations Security Council.
Both countries expressed their willingness to continue working together on matters of common interest in various multilateral organizations, including the United Nations. India sought the support of Paraguay for India's candidature for a UN Security Council non-permanent seat for the period 2028-29.
India and Paraguay took another step towards strengthening their relations as External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar called on the Paraguayan president. Minister Jaishankar praised President Peña's positive outlook and said that the visit would help open new avenues for engagement between India and Paraguay as well as the wider South American region. Minister Jaishankar also said that he concluded a memorandum of understanding with his Paraguayan counterpart to establish a joint commission mechanism, a significant step in widening dialogue and cooperation. Prime Minister Modi highlighted the transformation of India's aviation sector while addressing the International Air Transport Association's 81st Annual General Meeting and the plenary session of the World Air Transport Summit in New Delhi on Monday. He said that consistent reforms have been a key driver of India's rapidly expanding aviation sector.
India's aviation story is taking flight fast and unstoppable. Prime Minister Narendra Modi called it a new era. India is now the world's third largest domestic aviation market, driven by record passenger growth, bold policies like UDAN, and massive infrastructure investment. Addressing the plenary session of the 81st World Air Transport Summit in New Delhi, Prime Minister Modi said that India offers excellent opportunities for investment in the aviation sector.
ग्लोबल एविएशन इकोसिस्टम में हम न केवल एक विशाल मार्केट है, बल्कि पॉलिसी लीडरशिप, इनोवेशन और इंक्लूसिव डेवलपमेंट के प्रतीक भी है। आज भारत ग्लोबल स्पेस एविएशन कन्वर्जेंस का एक उभरता हुआ लीडर है।
Emphasizing that India has an open and supportive policy ecosystem, Prime Minister Modi said that all efforts are being made to make the country a global manufacturing hub. Blending bold visions of space-age travel with grounded economic optimism, Prime Minister Modi pitched India as a rising force in global aviation and beyond, creating nation's vast and aspirational talent pool.
भारत और विदेशी एयरलाइंस को मिलाकर हर साल करीब 24 करोड़ यात्री 240 मिलियन पैसेंजर्स हमारे यहाँ उड़ान भरते हैं, यानी दुनिया के ज्यादातर देशों की टोटल पॉपुलेशन से भी कहीं ज्यादा। और 2030 तक ये संख्या 50 करोड़ 500 मिलियन पैसेंजर तक पहुंचने की संभावना है। आज भारत में 3.5 मिलियन मेट्रिक टन सामान एयर कार्गो से ट्रांसपोर्ट होता है। इस डेकेड के अंत तक ये भी बढ़कर 10 मिलियन मेट्रिक टन तक पहुंचने वाला है।
The IATA AGM and the World Air Transport Summit is being hosted in India after 42 years. In over a decade, India has undergone a remarkable transformation in the aviation landscape and has made a lasting impact on the socio-economic development of the country.
India's skies are wide open and the whole world is taking note. As we build, innovate and connect, our aviation story is just beginning. From local dreams to global height, India is ready for a takeoff. The future of flight is here and it is flying on Indian wings. With camera person Vishwabandhu, this is Taposh Bhattacharya for TD India from Delhi.
The 81st Annual General Meeting and World Air Transport Summit brings together more than 1,600 participants, including top global aviation industry leaders who hailed the growth of India's aviation sector. A representative from Japan Airlines highlighted India's prominence in global aviation.
As the fastest growing market in Asia for Japan Airlines as well, we have daily flights here to Delhi as well as daily flights to Bangalore, and we see this as our growth area for not just for Japan and India, but for North America to India as well. But as you say, globally, the power of the Indian economy and the Indian market is only going to be much, much bigger as we move forward.
India's Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal is on a 3-day visit to France to strengthen economic ties and explore investment opportunities with global partners. Minister Goyal held meetings with the CEOs of Vicat and Total Energies, who showed strong interest in expanding investments in India. He thanked France for its support in the fight against terrorism. The minister held talks on trade, market access and strategic partnerships. He was scheduled to meet executives from major firms such as Renault, EDF and L'Oreal, highlighting India's commitment to deepening global economic engagement.
France is playing an important role in many of our technological collaborations, be it in the space sector, defense sector, precision engineering, artificial intelligence. We also have a very strong collaboration with France on insurance and financial services. The recent agreement to establish the Yuga Yugin Bharat Museum, the world's largest museum, when at Kartavya Path, is something we are doing in collaboration with the Louvre, the museum in Paris. So all in all, it's a very wide-ranging subject of engagement with France.
7 all-party delegations have conveyed to the world India's strong message of zero tolerance towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. The next report tells you about what happened on Monday with regard to India's global outreach in the wake of the 22nd April Pahalgam terror attack and India's response to it.
As part of India's continued efforts under Operation Sindoor and in line with its principled and resolute stance against terrorism, 7 all-party delegations are conveying to the world India's strong message of zero tolerance towards terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. Meanwhile, an all-party delegation group led by Congress leader Shashi Tharoor called on Chief Advisor to Brazilian President Celso Amorim.
Our message is consistent. We are not looking for war. We are looking only to send a message to terrorists. But through them, we want a message to be heard by those who are providing them safe haven, by those who are financing them, training them, equipping them, guiding them, and sending them across the border. And those are people in Pakistan in very, quote-unquote, responsible positions who are doing this.
All-party delegation group led by NCP-SCP leader Supriya Sule is in Cairo, Egypt, and met with the leader of the government in Senate, Senator Hassan Al-Khuli, chairman of the Foreign Arab African Affairs Committee, Hazem Omar, and other Senate members at the Senate. The other all-party delegation led by DMK MP Kanimoy met the Foreign Minister of Spain, Jose Manuel Alvarez, in Madrid. The delegation apprised the Spanish Foreign Minister about Pakistan-sponsored terrorism in India and also about India's position on Operation Sindoor. This delegation also met with a group of Spanish senators and senior government officials of the government of Spain. Earlier on Monday, the delegation also met the Association of Victims of Terrorism, one of the largest such association with more than 4,000 victims in Madrid. Another high-level delegation led by Member of Indian Parliament, Sanjay Kumar Jha, met Malaysian Indian Congress representatives led by Tan Sri Vigneswaran in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Senior BJP leader Ravi Shankar Prasad led parliamentary delegation interacted with London think tanks. Earlier, they met with UK's Shadow Foreign Secretary Preeti Patel and her team to share India's firm resolve in combating cross-border terrorism. They also highlighted how Operation Sindoor exemplifies the new normal set by India in this ongoing effort. Bureau Report, DD India.
Still to come on DD India NewsHour. Police in the US detain a person believed to be involved in the Colorado flamethrower attack that injured 8 people. An EU chief meets US lawmaker who is pushing for tough sanctions on Russia.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. A second round of direct talks between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul has concluded. As expected, there wasn't any major breakthrough. Kyiv gave Moscow a list of hundreds of deported Ukrainian children it wants to be returned. According to Ukraine's Defense Minister Rustam Umarov, the two sides agreed to an exchange of prisoners that would focus on swapping the severely wounded and the young. Raghav Kumar Jha has more.
The second round of peace talks between Ukrainian and Russian delegations held in Istanbul with no sign that they are any closer to starting negotiations for a peace deal. Peace talks kicked off with the opening address of Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. He hoped that the negotiations would be fruitful and there will be concrete progress.
Saygıdeğer katılımcılar.
By putting forth mutual problems and positions, it will be possible to reduce the differences of opinion and pave the way for peace. Our basic expectation is that the talks are productive and concrete progress happens in the shortest possible time and the desired result is achieved. We believe America's belief and support for these talks are extremely important.
But hours before the second round of peace talks, both sides carried out overnight attacks and counterattacks. On Sunday, Kyiv launched 117 drones on military bases and nuclear-capable strategic bombers deep inside Russia. The attack that came after Moscow's largest ever aerial attack on Ukraine the previous night was apparently executed after a year-long planning. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, who is in Vilnius to attend a NATO meeting of Nordic, Baltic and Eastern European leaders, pushed for a meeting with US President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the war. He said such a meeting could resolve key issues of the ongoing war.
Starting point should be a ceasefire and humanitarian actions, the release of prisoners and the return of abducted children. And all key issues can be resolved at the level of leaders. And if Russia undermines even this initial agenda, and if the Istanbul meeting brings nothing, that clearly means strong new sanctions are urgently needed.
NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte strongly advocated organizational membership for Ukraine and said that NATO is working in that direction.
There was a clear commitment by all 32 allies that there is an irreversible path for Ukraine to come into NATO. Not with an end date, not understanding this as part of a peace settlement, but clearly as a longer-term commitment by all 32 allies. And we are building that bridge as we speak, with the command in Wiesbaden, with in Poland, JTEC, which is capturing all the lessons, and of course all the other cooperation ongoing between NATO countries and Ukraine.
The two sides met and discussed their respective ideas for full ceasefire and a long-term path to peace, but amid stark disagreements and pressure from US President Donald Trump. Kyiv gave Moscow a list of hundreds of deported Ukrainian children it wants to be returned. But there was no breakthrough in the meeting. However, Turkish Foreign Ministry spokesman said the meeting, which lasted over an hour, didn't end negatively. Raghav Kumar Jha for DD India.
And RT's Igor Zhdanov sent us this report from Istanbul.
The important part here is that they have kicked off. Again, both the Russian and the Ukrainian delegations are in the same room, and what they are discussing, they're discussing the two memorandums that both nations have prepared, and basically those memorandums include how Moscow and Kyiv envision a potential world ceasefire deal that could last for a month or longer. Now, a peculiar detail here is that the Ukrainians, they are seeing the Russian memorandum for the first time right now, so they will probably have to take some time to make themselves, well, just acquainted with it. And at the same time, we have an idea as to what the Ukrainians brought to the table, at least if we were to believe some media reports of outlets like, for instance, the Reuters news agency. Now, in this, the nations, they have stuck to their own, well, strategy and style, really, with Russia being very tight-lipped about the course of the talks, and this approach has been supported by the United States too, and Ukraine just spilling the beans and, well, talking to the media. So basically, the Ukrainians, they would want nothing, no cap on their military capabilities. They wouldn't want to rule out them joining NATO, their country joining NATO. Also, they would outright refuse to recognize Russia's authority over any territories that the Russian army has liberated over the course of the past 3 years. So, and according to the Russians, well, if that report is correct, and if indeed this is what the Ukrainians are bringing to the table, that would be an inevitable clash with the Russian memorandum. While we don't know its substance, but we do know Russia's position on a number of these issues. And for some things like Ukraine seeking to join NATO is out of the question for Moscow. So it'll be interesting as to how much effort and how much progress the delegations and the two negotiating teams will be able to make in that room, in that palace behind me. Prisoners of war exchanges is on the table there too right now. So probably that's where the progress. That's where we will see some progress.
Meanwhile, NATO held a military training exercise at the Krivolak Army Base in North Macedonia on Monday, with the participation of some 2,200 soldiers from participating countries. The former Yugoslav Republic became the 30th member of the US-led military alliance in April 2020, ending a long process that included a change to the country's name. Soldiers and armored military vehicles took part in the immediate response exercises, which included target practice and helicopters. The immediate response 25 exercises involved multinational live fires conducted with NATO networks, with approximately 12,000 troops participating across Europe. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen met Monday with Lindsey Graham, the Republican lawmaker leading a push for tough new US sanctions on Russia, to discuss how to jointly increase the pressure on Moscow. The pair met in Berlin to discuss EU-US coordination on sanctions in response to Russia's ongoing war of aggression against Ukraine. The Republican lawmaker has put forward a proposal that could see 500% tariffs slapped on countries buying oil from Russia, drawing interest from some in Europe as a potential model for action. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer announced on Monday that Britain will expand its nuclear-powered attack submarine fleet and shift the purpose of its armed forces to a state of war-fighting readiness. The changes are part of a defense review that's designed to prepare the country to fight a modern war and counter the threat from Russia. Starmer, like other European leaders, is racing to rebuild Britain's military capabilities after US President Donald Trump told the continent it needed to take more responsibility for its own security. Starmer addressed workers in Scotland, saying that he would end the hollowing out of British armed forces.
I can announce today that we're going to build at least 6 new munitions factories in the United Kingdom, generating over 1,000 jobs. We will build thousands of new long-range weapons in the United Kingdom to boost European deterrence, supporting around 800 more jobs. We will defend our homeland by investing in our air and missile defence to better protect these islands.
Poland's National Electoral Commission has officially declared Karol Nawrocki a nationalist and staunch conservative, supported by the opposition, as the winner of the presidential election. With votes fully counted, the commission announced on Monday that Nawrocki secured 50.89% in a closely contested runoff against Liberal Warsaw Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski, who garnered 49.11%. Rahul Upadhyay reports.
In a dramatic turn of events, Poland has elected a new president, signaling a significant shift in the nation's political landscape. The right-wing conservative historian and Eurosceptic Karol Nawrocki had received 50.89% of the vote in Sunday's presidential runoff, putting him marginally ahead of his liberal conservative pro-European rival Rafał Trzaskowski on 49.11%.
In accordance with Article 126, Paragraph 6 of the Constitution of Republic of Poland and Article 292, Paragraph 4 of the Electoral Code, Karol Nawrocki was elected President of the Republic of Poland.
Voters across the political spectrum in the capital, Warsaw, expressed contrasting views, highlighting a deeply divided electorate.
I'm very sad. I'm very sad and disappointed that the Polish nation chose this way. I'm happy with the outcome, and that's all I can say. I expected something like this. I hope it continues like this.
Meanwhile, Hungary's foreign minister congratulated Poland's president-elect Karol Nawrocki on a great patriotic victory on Monday, after the Eurosceptic nationalist candidate won Poland's tightly fought presidential race.
First of all, there was a great patriotic victory in the presidential election in Poland. This victory provides a new opportunity to return to the Hungarian-Polish interstate relations, which were deliberately destroyed by the Polish government, to their old course.
As the results are out, now all eyes are on how Nawrocki's presidency will shape Poland's future, both domestically and on the international stage. Rahul Upadhyay's report for DD India.
8 people were injured on Sunday when a 45-year-old man yelled "Free Palestine" and threw incendiary devices into a crowd in Boulder, Colorado State in the U.S., where a demonstration to remember the Israeli hostages who remain in Gaza was taking place, authorities said. 4 women and 4 men between 52 and 88 years old were transported to hospitals, Boulder police said. Authorities had earlier put the count of the injured at 6 and said at least one of them was in a critical condition. FBI special agent in charge of the Denver field office, Mark Michalek, named the suspect as Mohammed Soleiman, who was hospitalized shortly after the attack. FBI Director Kash Patel also described the incident as a targeted terror attack, and Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser said it appeared to be a hate crime given the group that was targeted. Boulder Police Chief Stephen Redfern said he did not believe anyone else was involved. Mexicans voted in the country's first ever judicial election to elect 2,600 judges and magistrates, including all Supreme Court justices. Counting is set to conclude on the 15th of June, but election officials estimated the turnout using a calculation based on several samples across the country. Election officials said on Monday that turnout for Sunday's judicial election was likely between 12.57% and 13.32%, adding that thousands of officials across the country are working to give certainty to the votes citizens cast in the ballot. Still to come on DD India NewsHour. A discussion on Prime Minister Modi's address to the World Air Transport Summit and the International Air Transport Association. And India's northeast battles floods. Rescue and relief operations are on in Assam, Manipur and Sikkim. You're watching DD India NewsHour. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Right, going back to the top story we are tracking here on DD India NewsHour. Prime Minister Modi addresses the 81st Annual General Meeting of the International Air Transport Association in New Delhi. The event is being held in India after a gap of 42 years. India last hosted it in 1983. This year's edition brings together more than 1,600 participants, including global aviation industry leaders and government officials. Right, joining us are Mr. Sunil Kumar R. and Mr. Ajay Prakash. Mr. Kumar is the president of the Travel Agents Association of India, and Mr. Prakash is the president of the Travel Agents Federation of India. Gentlemen, welcome to DD India NewsHour. Mr. Kumar, to you first. What did you make of the Prime Minister's address? Did his speech tick all the right boxes for you?
Prime Minister was absolutely brilliant in terms of explaining to this international audience, because this is a very different kind of an audience. The audience comprised of the airline heads of the world, and the Prime Minister talking to them in terms of how India has triggered off its outstandingly brilliant approach to aviation, making India the third largest aviation segment in the world, and talked about the future as well. People were amazed with the kind of changes that are coming up, the evolution this industry will be soon witnessing, particularly in terms of the large number of aircrafts that are currently in order, which are from all the airlines of India. This reflected to the audience a very big India, an India that everyone must feel proud of. I think the Prime Minister's bottom line was very clear, that India is not someone small, India is not just big, but India is very forward-looking. India wants to be visible globally, connect globally, and was looking at a lot of collaborations with the rest of the world.
Mr. Prakash, coming to you now, what can you tell us about the IATA's meeting and the World Air Transport Summit as well?
This is, it's a historical occasion because we have had the IATA AGM happening, and IATA represents almost 200 airlines globally, which is more than 80 or 85% of all international or domestic traffic. That the Prime Minister chose to spare the time to come and address this meeting of airline heads, CEOs from across the world was a very important and a very magnanimous gesture. What he said was that India is not only a market, but it is a producer, a leader in terms of sustainable aviation growth. and that each one of us has a stake over here in this business. And to help India grow, it is important. From 63 or from 74 airports, we have come to 163 airports. The aim is to go to 300 airports in the next couple of years. I think that is remarkable, and it is because aviation is the driver of economic growth. And the more we can sustain and grow it, I think we have the opportunity here with 1.4 billion people as the most populous country in the world. With a median age of 28, we have a great demographic advantage. This is the opportunity for India to take the lead. And I think this was a very important meeting, and I am so happy that the Prime Minister came and chose to address it.
Indeed. Mr. Kumar, taking off on the point where Mr. Prakash left, how does India compare in terms of, say, building world-class air infrastructure and improving connectivity as part of its broader goal of economic growth and inclusive development?
I must mention that prior to the Prime Minister speaking to us, we had Mr. Willie Walsh, the Director General of IATA, and he did mention that in the 28 years of experience that he carried with IATA, they have not witnessed any single, on any single occasion, the head of the state being present, and that too of the stature of Mr. Modi, very globally acknowledged leader. And having said that, the kind of response that people could gauge from the Prime Minister's address clearly communicated India's stand with aviation, its consistent growth year on year. When you talk about how does India compare, I think India has progressed much more than many others. What happened to India in the last 10-15 years is something that the world has not yet witnessed. So we have with us a very strong participation and inclusive leadership and growth in the aviation industry. Our airlines are absolutely on top class. Indigo has hosted this event. The outgoing chairman, Mr. Peter, is the CEO of Indigo, and with Indigo and the entire Indian aviation industry present there with a large number of people. I represented at this AGM not merely as the president of the Travel Agents Association of India, but I wear the cap of an Indian currently heading the global federation called UFTA, United Federation of Travel Agents Associations. And I was amazed with all that happened today. And I must say it was a wonderful day for India. India, in comparison to the world, has proved that we are second to none, and we aren't going to look back. We are looking at much more stronger focus on not just expanding, but taking on relationship with the world. And I think we have actually demonstrated that we are leading the global industry in terms of aviation, and we're not here to be merely on a low scale, but we would certainly zoom up to a much better position. If I look at what's going to happen in the next 5-7 years, I think India would be far ahead, far ahead in terms of the quantum growth that would happen in the next 5 years compared to any other part of the world. And that was very clearly demonstrated by the figures the Prime Minister as well as our Honorable Minister for Aviation, Mr. Ram Mohan Naidu, had presented to the delegates. So put together, these two presentations were truly remarkable.
Absolutely. Mr. Prakash, for the benefit of viewers watching this broadcast and joining us from around the world, what are some of the key challenges and opportunities in the aviation industry today?
Well, the biggest challenge in the aviation industry is the issue of sustainability. Now, it's been talked about very often. Unfortunately, aviation gets more than its fair share of criticism. If you look at it, the construction industry probably contributes to greater greenhouse gas emission. Yes, it is evident that transport, and that's the tourism industry, and aviation is the main stay, does also have a role to play. But with newer generation aircraft coming in, with the advent and the inclusion of sustainable aviation fuel, I think that is a challenge that will have to be addressed, because you cannot stop mobility. Aviation drives global economy. You cannot ground it. You must find ways to mitigate the environmental consequences. The other issue facing us in India particularly is the cost of aviation turbine fuel. As you know, it constitutes approximately 40% of any airline's costs. And therefore, if aviation turbine fuel, ATF, is brought under the ambit of GST, I think it would be a big boost. The third challenge we have is to make India a global aviation hub. There was a time when we had transcontinental traffic connecting over India. With Air India's change in schedules, I think we are going to achieve that again, where you have a seamless transition or travel from Australia all the way across to the United States or Europe. So these are the challenges before us. And of course, we have the issue of spare parts, of aircraft availability, of backups in the supply chain. These are all global effects, but many of them can be tackled at a local level.
Right.
And therefore, it is important that as we go forward, we remember that as the most populous, as the most peace-loving country in the world, we have a huge role to play going forward. And aviation and tourism has more than just an economic impact. It is also a bridge between people, regardless of your cultural beliefs, regardless of your nationalities. Tourism has the power to connect people across all boundaries. And this is the opportunity that we have to improve upon our performance on inbound tourism, because that is a form of soft diplomacy. Anybody who comes into your country and goes back as a satisfied visitor is an ambassador for your country. There's a true, genuine power that we have to influence global opinions. The concept of Atithi Devos, Atithi Devo, the concept of Vasudeva Kutumbakam, these are inherent in the Indian ethos.
Indeed.
And these are the values through inbound tourism and through tourism across the world that we can spread to the world. So these are some of the challenges, but these are also some of the opportunities we have going forward.
Mr. Kumar, Mr. Prakash used the word hub, and that brings me to my next question to you. Mr. Kumar, we keep hearing about India wanting to become an MRO hub, maintenance, repair and overhaul. What will it take for India to become one?
Well, today there was a question asked prior to the Prime Minister. It was a panel of the CEOs, and the question was asked as to how many of the aircrafts belonging to different airline groups are currently grounded. And there was a huge challenge. This is very clearly reflective of the challenge the world currently has on maintenance. And with MRO coming up, on which the Prime Minister did make a mention, I think what it takes for India is to have, because we've got the right people, we've got technically qualified people there. And all we need to do is to position ourselves. And I think that positioning is currently happening. In my opinion, IATA AGM, which this is my 4th AGM that I'm attending, and I would say that a take-home message, which perhaps the world was not aware of, is the intention of India to create an MRO hub. And this is the need of the hour. India people are now convinced, thanks to our defense capabilities, thanks to a lot of advanced levels of technology that we reflect in all that we do. This is a right strategy for the government, not merely to lead the world in terms of the aviation market, but go a bit deeper into the MRO aspect as well and get the world to utilize the services in India. So it's a different vertical altogether. You're not just leading aviation, you're supporting aviation as well.
Right.
So I think there's a lot of consistency of this vision that must be on. irrespective of what happens in the next few years. And this consistency of that vision, that no matter
Right.
what, India must emerge, is going to make a big impact on the world. So I would acknowledge and express my appreciation to the government for making a bold announcement today in front of the CEOs of the world that MRO is India's maiden impact that they want to create, and then expand it to the whole world. I think it's a great move, and India, I'm sure, with that consistency of this vision translated into actions, translated into strategies that they would put up, it will surely happen, and that would position India very, very respectably across the world.
Indeed. I have time for one last question to you, Mr. Prakash. Would you say that the economics of the airline industry by and large is healthy? Also, is there scope for innovation in aviation technology?
Well, aviation has always been a high-risk business. You know, the joke was that if you wanted to become a millionaire, you set up an airline as a billionaire and you'll end up as a millionaire. But having said that, the fact remains that aviation is critical to economic growth.
Right.
And given the fact that we have two very strong airlines and a couple of smaller players, and the Minister for Civil Aviation, Mr. Ramon Naidu, also said there are a couple of smaller airlines which are gaining market share. I think we are in a healthy situation, and Indian aviation can only go higher from here.
Okay.
So I am very, very optimistic, and I think we have the manpower, we have the skills, we have the will, and we have the support of a very, very economically sound country. So yeah, we have
fair enough.
we can touch the skies.
Right, on that rather optimistic note, may I thank both our guests, Mr. Ajay Prakash and Mr. Sunil Kumar, for joining us and sharing your thoughts and perspectives with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Much appreciated. Right, moving on, in other news, the President of Paraguay, Santiago Peña, who is on his first state visit to India, called on India's President Draupadi Murmu in New Delhi on Monday evening local time. Let me give you some more world news now. Germany's former Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has been elected as the President of the United Nations General Assembly. She ran unopposed for the one-year top position, which is primarily of ceremonial significance and mainly involves organizing plenary sessions. The inauguration is due to take place on the 9th of September, shortly before the general debate of the UN General Assembly. And while the job is limited to a year, it's considered a good stepping stone for subsequent roles. Assam and India's northeast is currently facing severe flooding because of continuous heavy rainfall and rising river levels, prompting widespread relief and rescue operations across its affected districts. The Assam State Disaster Management Authority, supported by the NDRF, the SDRF and local authorities, is actively involved in evacuating those trapped and providing immediate assistance to families impacted by the floods. Rescue teams equipped with boats have been deployed to reach remote and submerged areas. Relief camps have been set up to house displaced individuals, supplying them with food, clean water, medical care, and other essential provisions. Additionally, helicopter services are on standby for emergency evacuations in areas that are otherwise inaccessible. And now to the flood situation in another northeastern state of Tripura. Owing to heavy rainfall over the past few days, relief camps have been set up in Agartala and various other parts of Tripura. Government officials have been monitoring these camps to provide necessary help and ensure proper arrangements. People in the state have been advised to follow government guidelines during this period. The rainfall on Monday reduced significantly. Water levels have also gone down in many flood-affected areas. As a result, people have started returning to their homes from the government-run relief camps. The National Disaster Response Force has more than 22 teams of rescuers all across the northeastern states. These teams are carrying out rescue and relief in flooded areas of Assam, Manipur and Sikkim. DD India's Nandita Dagar spoke to the Deputy Inspector General of Operations of the National Disaster Response Force.
NDRF, as per the mandate, it deploys, pre-positions its teams all over the country. So in Northeast also 22 teams have been pre-positioned to look after this monsoon situation. In Assam and other states, the situation is normal today. Almost 500 plus people have been evacuated from many areas. In Sikkim especially, the situation is a bit difficult because of the weather conditions. We had 2 incidents. One was the incident in which a vehicle fell into the gorge with 11 persons going missing. 2 bodies have been recovered and 9 still on the search. Last night at midnight there was a very sad incident of a landslide in this Chatan area. There one GSO and other GSOs, they have lost their lives. 3 bodies have been recovered. 4 persons, they are said to be injured but out of danger, and 6 are still missing. So the search is going on, and the NDRF team is being airlifted from Siliguri, from Bagdogra to Lachin.
In business news, Wall Street's main indices opened lower on Monday after Trump revealed plans to double tariffs on imported steel and aluminium, fueling more uncertainty around U.S. trade policies. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 70.1 points or 0.17% at the open to 42,199.94. The S&P 500 fell 15 points while the Nasdaq Composite dropped 50.7 points. In sports news, South Africa batter Heinrich Klaasen retired from all forms of international cricket on Monday as he aims to strike a work-life balance. 33-year-old Klaasen is one of the world's most destructive batters in white ball cricket and a mainstay of the South African limited over side in recent years. Klaasen said he looks forward to spending more time with his family. Klaasen appeared in 6 one-day internationals where he scored 2,141 runs with 4 centuries and 11 50s. He scored exactly 1,000 runs in 58 T20 internationals as well. He also played 4 test matches for South Africa. He is likely to maintain his presence on the global 2020 league circuit. And earlier on Monday, Australian all-rounder Glenn Maxwell also announced his retirement from one-day international cricket. After making his debut against Afghanistan in 2012, Maxwell made 149 one-day appearances for Australia, scoring 3,990 runs. Maxwell also claimed 77 wickets in the 50-over format with his handy off-spin and also took 91 catches. Maxwell played crucial roles in Australia's 2015 and 2023 one-day World Cup wins. In 2023, he produced one of the most iconic knocks in the tournament history when he scored an unbeaten 201 in a match-winning chase against Afghanistan, battling severe cramps. Former England pacer Stuart Broad will join South Africa's coaching staff as a consultant for the World Test Championship final against Australia starting 11th June. The International Cricket Council said that Broad will attend South Africa's training session on 9th June at Lord's. This would mark Broad's first foray into coaching since retiring from international cricket after the 2023 Ashes. Broad retired as the 5th most prolific Test wicket taker and the 2nd most successful fast bowler of all time in the format. The final will be played at Lord's, where Broad has taken 113 wickets from 28 matches. This will be South Africa's first appearance in the World Test Championship final, but Australia are the defending champions, having beaten India in the final at the Oval in 2023. To chess now, world champion D. Gokesh secured a statement victory in the 6th round of Norway chess, beating former world champion Magnus Carlsen in classical time control for the first time in his career, the Indian teenager was playing with the white pieces. He held firm under pressure and capitalized on a rare blunder by the Norwegian grandmaster in the endgame, converting it into a memorable win. Carlsen appeared to have the upper hand for much of the game, pressing from a superior position. But Gukesh defended with composure before turning the game on its head with a precise counter-attack as Carlsen faltered under the tournament's increment time control designed to resemble rapid play. And Prime Minister Modi congratulated Gukesh on his first ever win against Magnus Carlsen. He said on social media platform X, and I quote him here, "An exceptional achievement by Gukesh. Congratulations to him for triumphing over the very best. His first ever win against Magnus Carlsen in round 6 of Norway Chess 2025 showcases his brilliance and dedication. Wishing him continued success in the journey ahead." Unquote. And that's all for this edition of DD India NewsHour. Let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can get the latest news and updates on the DD India mobile app. It's available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code that is now on your screen to download it. And we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. All of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India NewsHour.